Hey everybody, welcome back to the Dungeon Dive. Daniel here. I hope you're doing well, and if you're not, I hope you are soon. Okay, today in the channel, we are talking about 5 nearly effortlessly fun games. Now, of course, no board game is truly effortless. There are always rules to learn, rules to remember, things to set up, things to put away, things to store. Things take time, things take some effort. However, some games get closer to being effortlessly fun than other games. I think the first game I described as being nearly effortlessly fun on the channel was Role Player Adventures. And while that game isn't on this particular list, in this particular episode, it will probably appear in a future video that explores this same topic. With Role Player Adventures, I was surprised by how much thematic punch and just kind of the experience that game gave me for its relatively easy rule set, and how quickly it was to set up, how easy it was to manage all of the stuff and to put away. And it kind of reframed the hobby for me in that it made me think about this topic in consideration with more games. So this past week, I asked some Dungeon Dive patrons what games they felt fell under the effortlessly or nearly effortlessly fun umbrella for them. And here are some of the answers. So we have Kinfire Delve, Maximum Apocalypse, Arkham Horror the LCG, Pathfinder Adventure Card Game, Mage Knight, Waste Knights, The Witcher the Old World, Dungeon Quest, Mystic Woods and Sorcerer's Cave, Gamma Guilds, some of the games in the 10 series like 10 Helm and 10 Realm, Fallen Lands, Doom Pilgrim, Chronicles of Avel, Runebound 2nd Edition, and various simple RPGs played solo like Morkborg. So as you can see, there is a huge variety in the kinds of games that some people consider effortlessly fun, while others may not. This is a very subjective category. As an example, I was shocked to see that somebody would think that Mage Knight is effortlessly fun. I wish I had the mental fortitude to consider that game effortless. I would love that. Maximum Apocalypse and the Arkham Horror LCG are two games that I really did struggle with, especially in the storage and keeping everything in order. And Maximum Apocalypse I had for about a week before I just boxed it up and sold it, because I just couldn't find the fun in that game for the amount of time it took me to set up all the tiles and to set up the modular card system. Dungeon Quest, I think, is for me a game that gets really close to being effortlessly fun, and that could be a video that we see in a future video in this series. I completely agree with Mystic Woods and Sorcerer's Cave, although those take up an entire floor to play. You can't really play those games on a table because the exploration cards are very big, oversized, huge, like 5x6 almost, maybe 3x5, but they're very big, and it very quickly takes up a lot of space. But the game is very simple. I think Doom Pilgrim is definitely something that we could consider. Runebound 2nd Edition without expansions, I think, gets close, as do games like Talisman, and as do the 5 games that we are going to take a look at today. So some of the things I've taken into consideration when picking these 5 games are: 1, the setup and breakdown time; 2, the ease of learning / remembering how to play; 3, the game length; 4, how much table space it takes up; 5, the thematic punch. Do these games really make me feel like I am playing a kind of grand adventure game or a grand dungeon crawl? And then, of course, 6, just basically how much I like the game. So the 5 games we will take a look at today, we will take a look at in box order size from smallest to largest. So this isn't really in a numbered order. So let's get started. Okay, the first game up is 7 Moons, Heroes of Dragon Reach. Now, I should mention that I have detailed reviews for all of these games, so if you want to see more about each one of these games, just go to the channel, go to the little magnifying glass and search for the name of the game and you will find my detailed review. So 7 Moons, yeah, this is a really great little game. I mean, this box is small. I would consider this a small box game, and for a small box game, this really knocks it out of the park as far as how it gives me that adventure game feeling. So I think 7 Moons is kind of a really kind of simple take on the Runebound 2nd edition formula. As a matter of fact, we have this really great hex map. I love this hex map. This hex map could be used for any kind of solo RPG. I think it's really useful. We have a few cards here. So we have some various quests that you can go on. We have some wilderness encounter cards, different things that you can encounter as you are exploring out in the wilderness. We have some boss cards, some big bad evil guys that you have to defeat towards the end of the game. And this game just does a lot with a little. It's very quick to play. It's very quick to set up. Everything fits in this small box. Now, this is the deluxe version. I was really lucky to get this deluxe version at retail. I didn't back this on Kickstarter, and it even comes with some metal coins. So I don't know if you can find this deluxe version anymore, but in this game, you can play cooperatively, you can play solo, and you can play competitively. But your players will be choosing a certain type of character and they will be going out into this world. There is some trading, a little bit of pick up and deliver. And yeah, you're just trying to kind of have this overland adventure. And I think it does pack a huge punch for being in such a small box and for being so easy to learn, so easy to play, and being nearly effortlessly fun. If you want a little bit more of a narrative kind of drive for this game, on the company's website, and that is Gunpowder Studios, gunpowderstudios.co.uk, you can find some little campaign sheets that you can print out that will kind of guide you through a little bit more of a driven story while you are playing the game. And they don't really add any kind of upkeep or bookkeeping or complexity to the experience. I think this game also has really good solo rules, and I've had a lot of fun just playing this solo. And I should mention that I don't consider these games to be like baby games. I'm not saying that these games are only good for people who are being newly introduced to the hobby. That's not what I mean when I say effortlessly fun. I've been playing adventure games since the mid-'80s, so I've played hundreds of these kinds of games, and I still love these games. As a matter of fact, on this channel, I think I appreciate simpler games than a lot of other channels who cover the same kind of games that I do. You know, in my last top 10 for 2024, there weren't very many big, epic, grand games on that list. So I really appreciate and enjoy games in this space. Now, one thing that I would like to see in this game is a very, very small expansion, just a maybe 20 or 30 more cards that would fit back in this base box that includes more quest cards and more wilderness encounter cards, especially the wilderness encounter cards. This is one area where I think the game falls a little bit short of what it could be. I would just like to see a little more variety. Actually, what they could do is print a small booklet that fits in here that then when you draw one of these cards, you could maybe roll a D6 and each one of these cards could have 6 different entries or something like that. That would be a really fantastic expansion that wouldn't add any really upkeep. It would just add variety and it would all fit back in this box. So the first entry on this list is 7 Moons, Heroes of Dragon Reach. Okay, next up in just a slightly bigger box is Escape the Dark Castle, the game of atmospheric adventure. So this has been a long-time favorite on the Dungeon Dive. This is basically a kind of choose-your-own-adventure or fighting fantasy game book, but in a deck of cards. And man, this game really could not be simpler. This game offers up so much thematic fun without hardly any rules. It's pretty great. As a matter of fact, you could have this game set up in a matter of minutes. All you need to do is take 15 of these different encounter cards, and these encounter cards are all of the things that your poor prisoners who are trying to escape this dark castle, these are all the nefarious, nasty, disgusting beings and traps and entities and NPCs that they are going to have to deal with as they are trying to escape the castle. But a typical game of Escape the Dark Castle can only last a matter of minutes. It's super easy to learn. So you take 15 of these cards, you will take a random starting card, which will give you a way to start your adventure. You will take a random boss card, and this is the boss that you have to fight at the end of your adventure in order to complete your escape. And then you will pass out a character card to each of the players, and that's basically it. You might start off with a couple little loot, a couple little items, and then you are off to the races. You are off trying to go through all of these encounter cards and survive. And that is the name of the game. This is a game about survival, because if any one of your characters in your party, so if you're playing with 4 players, if any one of those characters dies, it is game over. However, game over isn't a big deal in this game because you can have a game reset in a matter of seconds. As a matter of fact, I really do consider Escape the Dark Castle more of a party game, and that's usually how we played it. We would play it at the end of a night when we had played some heavier games. Maybe some of us had had a little bit too much to drink, and that's kind of the perfect time to play Escape the Dark Castle. It's a perfect game to do that. But yes, Escape the Dark Castle is such a great game. I love this game as a party game, but it's still really thematic and really, really gruesome. I will say that maybe the only downside to setting it up is each one of the different characters, and there are quite a few different characters, each one of them is associated with its own D6, and you kind of have to go through and find the one facing icon, and then find your character's D6 in a bag full of those character D6s. So sometimes when we play more than one game in a row, we will just use the same characters so we don't have to go fishing for the additional dice, because that can kind of put a little bit of a halt to the fun. Okay, next up in just a slightly bigger box, just a little bit bigger than Escape the Dark Castle, is Glory 2nd Edition. And Glory 2nd Edition is about as simple as an adventure game can get. This is a much simpler, much faster playing version of something like Talisman or Runebound. And I think this game is pretty great, and I think it's a little expensive for what you get, and maybe that's why it hasn't hit that kind of critical mass that I would think something like this would. But this is a very typical adventure game where the players are playing as different characters, and they might have different powers and different loot and different abilities. But we have things like a warlock, a seer, a druid, a knight, a witness, an ender, a golem, an adventurer, and a totem. And you are exploring the world on an open land map. All of the cards and everything in this game can be written on with dry erase markers. Each of your characters will use a D8. This only uses D8s in this game, so it's very simple for people who just want to use one die. You don't have to think about which dice you are going to be using, but you will be traveling around on this overland here. You will start in the castle and you are moving out, and on each of the corners of this board are layers, and the layers will have different bosses in them. And so there's a huge variety of different bosses that you can fight. And so you never know which boss you're going to fight until you explore its lair. So we had different giants and dragons and liches and storm elementals and basilisks, nagas, skeleton queens. So all kinds of really cool, nasty bad guys. When you go to the various cities, there are 4 cities, one located on each edge of the board. You can pick up a random quest, And this will just give you a little bit of flavor text and kind of a little mission to travel somewhere else and do something. You can also go shopping for various goods, and there are quite a few goods in the game and all kinds of different goods. Again, these are all dry erase cards, so you can keep track of your uses or any notes that you need to on your cards or on your character sheet. There are also some random events, and the random events are in these fate cards here. So every once in a while you will turn up a fate card when you land on one of these question marks, and these will kind of augment the game in a little bit. There are also a whole bunch of different monsters that you can fight. And so you have this huge deck of battle cards with all kinds of different monsters such as dragons and odd fairy, goblins, ghouls, goblins there, stone elementals, hobgoblins, fairies, so really cool monsters there to fight. And then there are also a whole bunch of different abilities that your characters can learn. And so these will all augment your character, give you something new to do, give you a new power that you can take advantage of. And this has a lot of stuff, but then let's look at the manual. The manual is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pages long. This manual is like a quarter of the size of even the original Talisman manual. It is dead simple to play. You can buy this game, have it out of the box and ready to play in probably like 15 minutes. And it's really nice components. I think this game is pretty dang cool. I always have fun when I play Glory. It has a simple quest system with enemy encounters and boss fights. It plays quickly and presents a good sense of discovery because of all of the different cards. It also has a handful of great art styles, but as you can see, they kind of all feel like they're from a different game. All of the art is really great and the cards look great. The UI is well designed, but these look like they are from a completely different game than these. Both of these look like they're from a completely different game than the art style on the board or the art style on the item cards. So it's kind of, it just has a huge variety of different kinds of art. I wish it had a more focused artistic vision. And I also wish that there was one, just again, one little expansion that maybe added some more quests. I would like to see the quests expanded in this game because there are only a few and you will quickly know every quest in the game. And so then it just becomes, it just isn't as exciting once you've played the game a handful of times to draw one of the new quests because there's a large chance that you'll get one that you've already had. So just a tiny little expansion that still fits in this box would be great. The game plays pretty well solo. I just play the game solo like I do Talisman, just trying to win the game. But there are also some very simple solo scenarios that you can play that kind of form a little campaign, a little story, and they have a little bit of a puzzle-like setup where you are trying to do certain things while you are out adventuring in the realm. But yeah, Glory 2nd Edition is really cool. I think this game is a lot of fun. It's very simple. You really can't get any more simple than in this game. And it offers that kind of thematic punch that I'm always looking for. Okay, next up is Be In One, a game all about Brighton by Paul Stapleton. So yes, Paul Stapleton, the designer of my favorite adventure game of all time, Pauper's Ladder. Now, why didn't I choose Pauper's Ladder for this list? Well, one, I talk about that game a lot. I wanted to give some other games a time in the spotlight. I love Pauper's Ladder. However, the way I play it, I think it has kind of moved out of that realm of being effortlessly fun because of all the expansions. Nothing in Pauper's Ladder is super complicated, but there's a lot. If you have everything for that game, there is a heck of a lot of stuff, and you do have to do quite a bit at the setup. You know, if you're playing the Moon Towers expansion, you add all of those cards, you take away other cards. If you're playing with some of the other modular expansions, you have to deal with these. Some of the co-op rules are quite different. Some of the solo rules are quite different. So I think that game has kind of moved out of the realms of being nearly effortlessly fun, although it is still insanely fun. But Be In One doesn't have any expansions. And this game is definitely fun. And it's also quite different because this has everything that we look for in an adventure game, but it's set in the modern world. It's set in the real world. It is set in the city of Brighton. And you are playing as a tourist, as a day tripper in the city of Brighton. And you are going on basically quests to find different destinations. And all of these destinations are different sites, different things that you can see in the city, such as here we have the Pepper Pot, or maybe you're going to Snooper's Paradise, the Hill Fort, Queen's Park, the Level, the Royal Pavilion, Preston Manor, the Stamner Park, or the Brighton Museum. So you're trying to see all of these sites, and as you gain access to these sites, you will gain some victory points. You will be playing as different characters. Maybe you're playing as the historian who is interested in the historical aspects of the city, or maybe you're playing as the shopper, and you might have different goals. The shopper is trying to get maybe some loot, and the loot in this game is in the guise of kind of like souvenirs and different things. You can find skateboards and soccer balls and all kinds of different things. Here we have, let's see, here we have our loot and our souvenirs here. So we might find things like a city map or tarot cards, an autograph book. You can have a camera to take pictures of things. You can find an instrument. You can interact with street performers and buskers. And you can meet a lot of different NPCs, which are characters who are actually based off of real kind of local celebrities in the area. And man, I just think this game is so fantastic. I would love to see a game like this based off of other cities. I kind of joked around with Paul Stapleton, asking him to, man, maybe you can make a game for like this for San Francisco or for Seattle or for even a smaller town like the little town where I live in called Edmonds. And it's just really cool. I love this game. I've had so much fun playing it. I don't like playing this one solo as much as I like playing this with other people. And I've had a lot of fun playing this with my wife and our two friends. It's just fun. You get to walk around the city, and you get to eat different meat pies that can add a different ability that can help you. You can get a ticket for the bus, and you can take a bus around, or you can take a taxi around. There are different city events, and these are kind of events that everybody's chasing because they appear in different places on the board, and the first one there gets to participate in the event. It's a very much an urban adventure game, and I wish that there were more of these kinds of adventure games that took place outside of the realms of science fiction and fantasy, because this is kind of an unexplored territory. And this game is a breeze to learn. It's a breeze to set up and play and to put away. And yeah, BN1 is a very, very fun game that is nearly effortlessly fun. Okay, and finally, in the biggest box that we will cover today, just a kind of normal square-sized box that we are all used to, and that is, of course, Lands of Galzyr. One of my favorite adventure games of all time. Man, this thing is so awesome. I love Lands of Galzyr. It is a big, open world sandbox in which you are playing as these critters. It's kind of a critter crawl. It's a beast epic. And there really isn't an ongoing story to this sandbox world. There are a whole bunch of interconnected quests and little story paths that you can go on. But really, you're just kind of living the lives of these critter adventurers as you are exploring the land. The seasons change. You move from like spring into summer, into fall, and into winter. And different things can change on the board depending on what season it is. So you can have the game set up in a matter of minutes. This game probably has a little more of a rules hurdle than the other games we've talked about. The rule book is a little bigger, but it's still a very, very simple game, and it still packs a huge, huge thematic punch as you are working through this gorgeous board. And the board is double-sided depending on the season that you are in. Super cool. There are places on the board where you will lay cards out as the world changes. But all of this is super easy to manage. This game packs a huge kind of sandbox feel without hardly any bookkeeping. The skills that your characters have learned, they plug into these cards. So then you can just, at the end of a session, you can just take all of these and throw them back into the box. And then all of your saved stuff is over here. So when you need to reset up your world, it's very, very fast. The games are really short because you play kind of like, I think you play a week or two, I can't quite remember, but you play a certain amount of time. And then at the end of that time, your characters kind of gather in a bar, and thematically they share their stories of what they have been doing throughout their adventures. And this game does use an app, so if you are opposed to apps, you may not like Land of Galzyr, but the app doesn't really get in the way. It's not an app that you have to keep track of lots of stuff and insert lots of stuff. The app is basically just a whole mess of cards. It's like thousands of complex encounter cards. So that's all the app is. You could probably print out the app and spiral bound it, and it would be a massive kind of book, like maybe in Tales of the Arabian Nights or something like that. So it makes sense to me to have this as an app because this game already has a whole bunch of cards. And these cards are different things that you will be encountering, different types of quests and side quests and main story quests, different types of NPCs that you can interact with, different types of items that you might find, such as charms or boomerangs. But there are so many different quests, and the quests often have multiple parts. So the game is constantly kind of pushing the players forward to explore this world and to have fun, just simply living in the land of Galzyr. So here we have the lands of adventure and excitement. This is a little pamphlet that just kind of tells you about the world. This is such a charming world to be in. I love beast epics. Beast epics are kind of some of my favorite types of fiction. And while this game is mostly lighthearted and charming, there are some dark streaks throughout because there is kind of a civil war and some more nefarious things that are going on underneath the surface that your characters might encounter. But this, as far as offering a huge, big, epic sandbox adventure experience, I can't imagine a game like this being any simpler. And I was shocked by how easy it was to learn, set up, save, put away, and then get back out to continue my games. So, all right, you guys, well, I hope you enjoyed this list of 5 nearly effortlessly easy games. We took a look at 7 Moons, Escape the Dark Castle, Glory 2nd Edition, BN1, and ended with Lands of Galzyr. So let me know what some of your nearly effortlessly fun games are, and we can talk about those. So, all right, guys, take it easy. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.